Mailman Wes here, and welcome to day 26 of Shocktoberfest 2021. Today, we're going to be doing another adaptation film. Now, don't worry, this one isn't a Stephen King one. I think we've gotten past that for the most part. Today, we're going to be doing Tim Burton's 1999 adaptation of Sleepy Hollow. This one has a lot of mixed reviews. There's some good things about it, and there's some things that are not so good. So giving a rundown of this film is going to be a little bit different because there might be some of us that have been used to the adaptation done by Disney, where Ichabod Crane was a school teacher. However, in this adaptation, he is more of a criminologist and pretty much almost like a prosecutor in a way in a court of law. While he is in New York, he is telling everybody about what he thinks people are doing with their crimes, using science over law, over nature, and keep in mind this is around the Puritan era, where certain things that you talk about can get you in some hot water. You could be accused of being a witch or a warlock. So the people in the courtroom feel that Ichabod Crane's tactics are not the greatest in the world for their time. So they say, okay, well, you know what? We're going to send you upstate a little ways in a place called Sleepy Hollow. There have been some deaths going on, some people being murdered. And not just by means of just being stabbed or strangled. No, complete beheading. Ichabod, very excited of the challenge, goes up to Sleepy Hollow and meets an array of different characters. Most importantly, the Van Tassel family. We have Baltus Van Tassel, the father, the pretty much the master of the family itself, his wife, and also his daughter, Katrina Van Tassel. Also, one of the characters that tends to be a little bit of an issue in Ichabod's life is Brom Van Burnt. And in the Disney adaptation, he's more of just kind of a meathead and kind of just a, I don't know, just kind of an oaf, kind of a meatheaded oaf. In this one, the Brom is kind of a meathead, but he's a little more, he's a lot smarter than one would think. Ichabod talks with Baltus Van Tassel a little bit more about what's going on with these murders within the town, and they're all trying to say that it wasn't just a man of flesh and bones, it was a man known as the Headless Horseman, or a demon known as the Headless Horseman, who was once a man. He was part of the Hessian army that came through, and one day while he was going through the wilderness, he was taken down and beheaded himself. However, he comes back from the grave to seek revenge on people that have wronged him, and not just that, but sometimes he can take revenge on people that call upon him, that take his head. And if they take his head, well, they control the Headless Horseman. Dun dun dun. As Ichabod investigates the murders, he also starts to have a bond with Katrina Van Tassel, and you can definitely tell there's a bit of a romance budding in the making. And of course, Brom doesn't like that very much because he is supposedly engaged to Katrina, and yeah, he decides to have a little bit of fun of his own with Ichabod, dressing up as the Horseman and trying to scare him out of town. Meanwhile, while this is going on, the Headless Horseman continues to cut the heads off of people that he feels are a nuisance. Ichabod's kind of put in this triangle of a situation. He's trying to motivate himself to keep going on with the investigation regarding the Headless Horseman, meanwhile keeping about his wits and still keeping the affections of Katrina Van Tassel. More and more as the investigation goes on, Ichabod realizes that there is someone controlling the Headless Horseman. Not sure exactly who, but eventually, as people are getting picked off, one of the main people that gets picked off is Baltus Van Tassel, as well as Brom Van Burnt. So Ichabod is not only having to deal with the death of Katrina's father, also the death of her former fiance. So yeah, talk about some really, really, really awkward moments for a guy. Eventually the truth comes out, and we find out that the person taking control of the Headless Horseman is none other than Baltus Van Tassel's wife. Apparently, when she was a young child, she was one of the kids that was out in the wilderness when the Headless Horseman was trying to flee before his real humanly death. She decided she was going to vow her soul to Satan to be able to help him avenge his death by taking out everybody that would have a problem with her, especially because another situation comes into play. When she was a girl, her last name was Archer, and they owned a house out in the wilderness. Her family owned a house in the wilderness. And Baltus Van Tassel's family owned the land and decided they were going to tear it down. That's why she married him, that's why she took revenge, that's why she had him killed. And eventually, Ichabod is able to get the Headless Horseman his skull back, and he takes Miss Van Tassel to hell with him. Yeah, I know it was a little bit of a chopped up review, but at the same time, this is one of those stories that we have been told time and time again, whether through novelization, whether through adaptation of cartoon, and as well as this film. So, that being said, we're going to go into things that I like about the film and what I don't like about the film. I can't really say there's a lot that I don't like about the film. I guess you could say one thing in particular is...
One thing?
I know I waffle back and forth on things regarding adaptations or remakes or reboots. In this one, I wouldn't say that it's something I don't like. It's something that concerns me a little bit, or not concerns, but makes me confused. Because in some adaptations, Ichabod Crane is a school teacher. In this one, he's a criminologist, and what I'm used to seeing, this is me personally right now, what I'm used to seeing is Ichabod being kind of a fop, kind of just he thinks that he's suave and he's swagger, but deep down he's just a scared little pup. In this one, you know, he's kind of a nerd. He does get scared pretty easily once in a while. However, I think the suave comes in with the work that he does with his technology for the time being. Obviously, this is pre-steampunk. This is very, primitive compared to today's standards. I guess another thing that I really didn't care for the movie is the character of Brom. Now, in certain adaptations, you know a little bit more about him. You know that in some of the original adaptations, he wasn't engaged to Katrina, but he was more just trying to win her affections. And in this one, he's talked about, but he's not shown as much as in other adaptations. In the one by Walt Disney, he's the one who talks about the Headless Horseman or the story of him. In this one, Brom's just kind of more of a side character and just a little hard-headed and hard-nosed, and he eventually just gets killed off. It's just, it was just a little blah. It was very blah for me on that one. So, shame on you, Tim Burton. Anyways, apart from those little things, let's talk about things that I like. The cast alone, we just have to talk about it. The cast is great. We have Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, we have Christopher Lee, Christopher Walken, we have Miranda Robinson, Casper Van Dien, Michael Cow, Jeffrey Jones. Hey, Jeffrey Jones is back, ladies and gentlemen, and Ian McDiarmid. So, yeah, talk about an interesting cast. One thing especially about this, we had talked about the Dead Zone prior in this series of movie reviews. And at one point, Christopher Walken in the Dead Zone talks about Sleepy Hollow and the Headless Horseman. So it's nice to find a full circle to this situation. I like that very much. Didn't really plan that, so I mean, I'm actually happy that that happened. Another thing that I like about it is the dark atmosphere of the film. I mean, obviously, with Tim Burton, there's always going to be a dark nature to the subject matter. And in this movie alone, there is also something that I didn't talk about within the review. There also has a moment of Ichabod Crane's backstory, of how he was as a child, about how his mother did delve into a little bit of witchcraft, and his father was a minister and did not care for what she was doing, and plus doing this whole time of witchcraft and Salem witch trials, Ichabod's father, for lack of a better phrase, killed his mom. Killed his mom in an Iron Maiden, so, yeah. So, I mean, pretty dark and disturbing, but it definitely gives you an insight of how Ichabod Crane decided that he was going to be understanding of people's lifestyles, but at the same time be very, very careful and very scientific and very just... How do I put it?
Well, we're waiting.
Very deductive on how he was going to find people guilty for their crimes. Now that we've talked a little bit about what I like and what I don't like, it's time to grade this film. Now, like I said, the whole situation with the adaptation of the film does leave a little bit of a nasty taste in my mouth. However, the cast alone, and also the direction of Tim Burton, as well as the special effects, and the situation with the Headless Horseman, you know, it's an interesting concept. I do like that. I mean, I do like it. However, there are some plot holes that could have been worked out. So that being said, I'm going to give this film a B+. I'll give it a B+, because, you know, it's not a horrible movie. It's not even a bad movie. It's actually it's creative. It is very creative, and I, you know, tip my hat to Tim Burton for doing his best on an adaptation film, because they are difficult to do. I mean, then again, later on he did other adaptations, and look how they turned out. Well, we hope you enjoyed this review. Make sure you leave a thumbs up. Leave a thumbs down if you disagree with some of the opinions I had during this review. Also, make sure you share on social media, but most importantly, push that little red button, and don't forget to ring the bell for instant notifications on Dragonfire Entertainment. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes, and we will see you tomorrow for day 27 of SHOCKTOBERFEST 2021. Take care, stay tuned, and as always, stay scared.